Hey guys, what is going on? This is Jailbreak Help, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at my final review of the iPod Touch 5th generation. So the iPod Touch 5th generation does come in 6 different colors, including yellow, pink, white, blue, slate, and product red, which you can get through apple.com. So the iPod Touch does come in this nice box, which is standard from Apple to put their iPod Touches in this kind of boxes, which have the stuff down and the iPod Touch on top. So included with the iPod Touch we have the fingertips, which says hello in English, and then you get one in Spanish or in French depending on where you live, and the fingertips are just pretty much starting guides to tell you how to use your iPod Touch. And after that we get about 4 tabs of literature, which aren't that important, and lastly we get our Apple stickers, which are great for pasting on your iPod Touch, on your desk, or on your car, or pretty much anywhere you want to, as well as our lightning to USB cable, which is twice as thin as the 30-pin connector that Apple included previously, and Apple earbuds, which do sound ton better than the previous Apple earphones which we got with the previous generation devices, and they also look a bit more stylish and they sound a lot better. And lastly we get the iPod Touch loop, which I have a separate review on if you want to check that out. And pretty much this is a lanyard that attaches to your iPod Touch and protects it from falling. So my first impressions when I grabbed this iPod Touch was, wow, this device is really light and thin. So it does feel a lot lighter than the previous generation iPod Touch and thinner as well. And after having this 1 week later, I still feel the same way about the iPod Touch 5th generation. And also I've started using a case about 2 days ago, but before that, as you can see, my iPod Touch has no scratches at all on the back, and that's one thing that Apple did really great with this iPod Touch, to include that aluminum back which does not scratch as easily as the chrome backing on the 4th generation iPod Touch. So taking a tour around the iPod Touch, on the bottom we have the headphone jack, lightning connector, and speakers, which do sound better. And flipping it on the side we get our steel metal volume rockers, which do feel a ton better than the 4th generation ones. And flipping the device on its top part we get the sleep wake button, which again is still metal, and it does feel quite better than the 4th generation one. And on the front of the device we have a HD 720p FaceTime camera, as well as our standard home button, which all Apple devices have. And flipping the iPod Touch on the back we have our 5 megapixel still camera and 1080p recording, the microphone, the LED flash, and a Wi-Fi antenna bar, which does improve Wi-Fi for quite a bit. And we have the Apple logo and our iPod Touch loop on the bottom. So the first thing that will pop out at you when you first boot up the device is the Retina display. It has a 40% better saturation than the previous devices, and you can really see that. So just between swiping pages you can really see the saturation, and you can appreciate it even better when you're looking at pictures on the iPod Touch 5th generation. So you can zoom in and still see a lot of detail, and the colors will really pop out at you. And as you can see right there, that is completely true. So when comparing to the 4th generation iPod Touch, I really saw a difference between the 5th generation and the 4th one. So now the iPod Touch 5th generation has an A5 chip, which is double as fast as the A4, and now it has 500 megabytes of RAM, which really does improve with gaming. And when doing a Geekbench test, the iPod Touch got 624, which is twice as the score of the 4th generation iPod Touch. And the Wi-Fi antenna on the back really helps with Wi-Fi on this 5th generation iPod. And the A5 chip really shines when loading pages in Safari, and actually the iPod Touch 5th generation is almost as fast as the iPhone 5, although the Geekbench scores are really different. And even when doing pinch to zoom, it is surprisingly well done, and noticeably better than on the 4th generation iPod Touch. So one big improvement on the 5th generation iPod Touch is the camera. So the back camera has a 5 megapixel still capability and 1080p video recording, and the front facing camera has 720p recording, which will no longer have black bars on the sides. And also it has the iPod Touch loop, which to attach it you just go ahead and click the button, and then you attach the lanyard, which is a bit difficult to do with one hand, but there we go, it's done. And now you can go ahead and secure that to your level, so to your preferred level, with that little strap that you have there. And the loop does a really good job protecting the iPod Touch from falling, as you can see right there. Normally that's what you would do in real life. However, I find it more useful to use this as a stabilizer for your iPod Touch if you're recording video or just taking photos, and use it as a point and shoot camera. And to detach the loop, you simply go ahead and take it out like that, and then you press the button back and you're good to go. Gaming on the iPod Touch is now really great, and especially because the iPod Touch is usually designed for gaming, and it's the best portable gaming console you can find for the great price of $300 from entry. And now with the 5th generation iPod Touch that has the A5 chip and 500 megabytes of RAM, games just run really smoothly compared to the 4th generation iPod Touch, which games like Infinity Blade and Black Ops and all of those games lagged a lot. So now that is dramatically improved on the 5th generation iPod Touch. Siri is now part of the iPod Touch as well. So if we go ahead and hold the home button, hello Siri.
Good afternoon, Alex.
What's the weather like?
Looks like nice weather coming up through Thursday. Up to 84 degrees and partly sunny.
Open settings. And as you can see right there, it's much useful than it was on iOS 5, and on the 5th generation iPod Touch it is really fast, so that's great. However, not everything is perfect on the iPod Touch 5th generation. For instance, as you can see, the camera overshoots on the design of the 5th generation iPod Touch, which can lead when you're pressing the back button on some applications to your device tilting a bit, and that can be a bit annoying. And also the sides of the iPod Touch can scratch a bit, so that's why I do recommend getting a case. As you can see right there, up of the volume buttons there are a few scuffs. Although it's not that big of a deal, I actually had to underexpose the image so that you can see the scratch on picture, but if you don't look up closely, they're barely noticeable. So guys, this has been all for my iPod Touch 5th generation review. I really hope you did enjoy it, and if you did enjoy it, please do consider subscribing up there, guys. That would be really appreciated. And so yeah, also leave me down in the comments below on what you think about the iPod Touch 5th generation. Do you think it's worth the price of entry or not? And so I hope you have a really nice day, and I'll catch you all in my next video.